my great pleasure to be here today. I am very thankful to NPC and to Mr. Ramli for inviting me to come here. I think they are exercising some real vision for the future for Malaysia because I think the corporate university movement is a very important movement, and I think it can bring corporate universities now in places like Japan and Korea. There are some now starting in China. There are many now in Europe, in the UK, and in Germany and the Netherlands. And of course, there are more than 1,600 of these now in the United States. And they are growing very rapidly and have been growing very rapidly for the last 10 years or so. So I will go ahead and begin the presentation. But I'm going to begin, first of all, with a little examination for you, a little test for you, to see how well you can observe. Right? This is a test of observation. So this is a video, and I will start to play the video in a moment. But what I would like you to do is I would like you, this is a ball, a basketball. I would like you to count how many times is this ball thrown or passed between the people wearing the white shirts. Okay? So the people wearing the white shirts. So how many times is the ball thrown to the people wearing the white shirts? Okay? All right? So let's have a little contest. Let's make Team A and Team B. All right? So you are Team A, and this is Team B, and let's see who is more observant. Okay? So count how many times to what color?
White.
White. I'm sorry, I can see it here. So first thing we have is the different generations. And I think you've all heard of Baby Boomer and Gen X and Gen Y. The difference between these groups of people is very big in their thinking about education and about work. So for example, if you're my age, if you're a boomer, like I am, then our goal in life, for the most of us, was to work for a corporation. That was our goal. We went to university so we can get a job with a corporation, and the bigger the corporation, the better it was for our career. We thought that working for the big company was a very good thing. Right? And we would stay with this company for a long time. Maybe our whole career, we will work for this one company. But that began to change with Gen X. And Gen X has a little different attitude, and in America, they don't care about staying with the company for a long time. They just want a lot of money. So they ask the corporations to pay me a lot of money, and if you do not pay me, I will work for another company. So there's constantly changing their job all the time. So in America, the turnover rate is very high for Gen X. And they will come to the HR manager and say, I need 10% more money. And if you don't give it to me, I will go work for this company. And so usually the HR manager says no, and they leave and go to the other company. So this is a big problem in the US right now. But then Gen Y is even different. Gen Y, first of all, most of them do not want to work for a company, a big company. They want to work for themselves. There's a lot of entrepreneurism in Gen Y. So they say, I will start my own company, I will start my own business. I don't want to work for the big company. And if I work for a company, a small one is better because I have more opportunity to do things in a small company. I can be more useful in a small company. When I'm in the very large company, nobody even knows me. I am just a very small person. But in the small company, I'm big, I'm important, and I can be well known. So Gen Y doesn't want to work for big companies. Many of them don't want to work for any company. They want to work for themselves. And they have many different ideas about education. They want to learn all the time. They want to have lots of opportunity to study and to learn, especially on the job. while they're working, they want to learn. Not so much maybe go back to the university, but to work in the company, to learn in the company. So we have the generations. Then in America, many people are now consultants or contractors with companies. They don't want to work as employees. So this is another issue that we have. Then there's also this whole demographic issue. Not so big in Malaysia yet, but coming, where populations are getting smaller. And if you look at Japan, the population in Japan is actually going down. If you look at Italy, the population is going down. If you look at most of Europe, the population is declining. Russia is declining. So in many parts of the world, the population is actually going to become smaller. China and India are about level now, about level. So you look around the world and you say, where will all the workers come from? We're not going to have enough people to do all the work that we need to do. Especially true in Europe and Japan and other countries like that. And then there's fewer young people being born. The birth rate is very low in many countries. It's not so bad in Malaysia, I know. But if you look at Singapore, it's very low in Singapore. It's very low in Japan and other places. So these countries have a problem. And where do you think Singapore will get its workers from? Malaysia, that's right. And where do you think India will get its workers from? Malaysia. And the same for other countries. Even the US and Europe will get its workers from other places. So we live in a global world. And you can work many different places in your life. So even though you have no problem with birth rate in Malaysia, you will probably have difficulty to keep them in Malaysia. Because they will want to go work in other countries, in other places. Or maybe they will work on the computer, even though they are here, but they will work for some company in some other place. So this is the big problem there. Also, the college enrollments are down in many places in the world. The number of students going to college is coming down, especially for men. More women are going to college, but fewer men are going to college right now. And nobody knows why. I guess maybe men are lazy, I don't know. But the men don't want to go to college, and the women are going to college in many numbers. In fact, in the US, within 2 or 3 years, 60% of all the diplomas will be given to women. 60%. So there's a big increase in the number of women and a decrease in the number of men. But even with that, the total number going to school is less. So you have less going to school, and it is very difficult to find a qualified engineer or scientist or doctor or nurse. Very difficult to find these people now in most countries in the world. And if you go to almost any country I name, New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands, America, Canada, we have a shortage of all of these kinds of people. And so they will look to you to get these people if you have them. Okay? So if you are graduating scientists and engineers, many companies will recruit them to go and work for them. So the challenge for every company is how do you keep your workforce, how do you keep it, and how do you make it more educated and more able to do the work that you have to do. This is the challenge that every corporation in the world faces today. So if you're a CEO, if you think about, you are the head of a company, and if you think about what is going to cause me to not be able to grow my company. If it was 100 years ago, the reason you could not grow your company was probably the raw material. You couldn't get iron, or you couldn't get the steel, or whatever it was to grow your company. For the last 30 or 40 years, the thing that has limited your growth has been what? Money. Where do I get the money to grow my company? Where do I get the capital to invest? Right? But now we have many sources of capital. We have the World Bank, we have governments that provide money, we have many entrepreneurs and venture capitalists, private investors who give money. Money is not a problem. So if you have a good idea, you can get the money, you can get the materials that you need. What is hard to get? The people. The people. Where do you get the people to do your product, to make your product, or to design your product. So most CEOs in the world are very nervous today. If you talk to the head of General Electric or Motorola or any of the large companies, say, what makes you stay awake at night? What are you afraid of the most? And their answer is not enough skilled people. Not enough skilled people to make my products or design my products. This is the real challenge of the 21st century. I believe myself that the biggest challenge every country will face is educating people. That is the biggest challenge for the next 20 years. And the corporations must help in this process. They can't do this. The government cannot do this by itself. The schools cannot do this by itself. The corporations are going to have to develop this education capability if they are going to remain successful. So a CEO, these are just some of the things they say. What's going to limit me from growing my company? If I want to move my company, let's say I want to move my company into Singapore. What's my problem? Finding the workers to work in my company. Okay? If I want to move my company into the United States, what's my problem? Finding the workers to work in my company. They're not there. And even if you can find them, they're very expensive, or they will leave easily for more money. So, how do I keep these people in my company? This is the big challenge. How are you going to keep your older employees more productive? How are you going to take the people who are loyal to you, and how are you going to make them better at what they do? How are you going to help them to improve their skills? So I think these are the big questions that the CEOs are asking every day, and they come to their management team and they say, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this happen? And the management team is looking at HR and saying, you are the people. Help me make these people. Help me make more skilled people. Help me recruit more people. Help me get people to come to our company. And honestly, HR is going, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do. Everything we used to do doesn't work so well anymore. For many places, it's okay still. Maybe here in Malaysia right now, it's not too bad. But in 5 years, it will be a big, big problem. So I think the point of my whole talk today is maybe many of these things are not happening today in Malaysia. But they will be happening in 5 years from today, and you should be prepared for this now. And I think that you are very lucky to have the opportunity to have maybe a 5-year period to develop some of these things before this becomes a big problem for your country and for your companies. So the answer to all that question the CEO has are talented, skilled employees. Where am I going to get talented, skilled employees? And this is a huge challenge. Many of you probably have heard of Jack Welch. He was the chairman and the CEO of General Electric Corporation for 20 years. He retired a few years ago. But he said the number one thing in his mind all the time, it's not money, it's not the new products, it's not selling, it's none of those things. His biggest concern is the employee education and development. Without that, we have no company. And if we think about it, all the employees that we need today need to be educated. Maybe 20 or 30 years ago, we could go to the village and bring in someone who's not educated, and they can learn to do it quickly. Not so anymore. Now they must have more education. They must know more than they knew before. So I think that corporations have made some assumptions about things. Most corporations have said things like, high school is enough. That's all our employees need. Or maybe a university education is enough. And many people believe, especially baby boomers, that when they finish their university, they don't have to learn anymore. Done. I got my degree, and now I can just work the rest of my life. Unfortunately, that's not true, because things change so quickly that you constantly have to learn new skills. You have to have new abilities and learn new things. So where do you do that if you're an adult? If you're working for a company and you know that you need new skills, maybe you need to learn how to use the computer, maybe you need to learn whatever. Where do you go? And for many employees, there's no place to go to learn that. So they believe they can just provide you training about how to do the job. So I just teach you one thing, and that's all I need to do as a company. But now we're learning that we must teach people much, much more than that. They must learn a lot more than just how to do their job. They have to learn much more. And, nothing changed much in the past. I used to work in the semiconductor industry, and for many years I worked there. And for maybe 20 years, things changed, yes, but they changed slowly, and it wasn't too fast. So we could educate people slowly about how to do the things in the change. Today, everything changes instantly. Overnight, things are different and new. Suddenly, there's a new product. Suddenly, there's a new computer program, and people must learn how to use that right away, very, very quickly. So speed is different. Things are much faster today than they used to be. And we already have talked about the fact that your employees mostly were loyal to you, and mostly they live right here locally. And now you're finding that we have a global talent market, and that the employees are not loyal. They will go work for someone else for more money, easily. So these are the challenges that all of you face, either today or challenges you will face tomorrow. And if you look at it and you say, how am I going to be prepared for this? What can I do? What can my company do to be ready for these changes when they come? And I think the answer is going to be, a lot of it is going to be the corporate university, which we were talking about. So there's a lot of things today. I think we can realize that high school and university is not adequate. Not enough. You need more than that, and in fact, you never stop learning. Never. You must learn continuously until you die. You have to go and learn more things. Organizations have to provide much better training than they have. Much deeper training, much more useful training than they have provided in the past. And they need to provide it to everyone, not just the production worker, but they need to provide it to management and to everyone in the company. I think that we've already talked about most of these things. I don't think I need to talk about these anymore. But this whole idea of rapidly training people is another concept. So down here I say the need for rapid training and development. If you have people leaving your company frequently, then how do I train them very, very quickly to do what I need to have them to do? So the other component is speed of learning. How do we increase the speed of learning? And there's a lot of things that you have to ask, why does university education take 4 years? Why not 2 years? Why not 1 year? Why 4? Who invented 4? Why not 5 or 6? Okay? So where did 4 come from? I don't know. Okay? This is just the habits that we have, that we just have. But we don't really know why. And so I think one of the challenges I have is, how can you learn faster? How can I take my employees and teach them in 1 year or 1 month instead of in 3 months or 6 months or whatever? So speed of learning is also important. And I think looking at the things that we just assume are normal, like 4 years for school, and say why. We have to ask why and understand the reasons why. Or if there's no good reason, then change it. I think we have to look at that and say, should we change these things if there's no good reason for it? But we have to have that, you have to ask the question first, and then you can begin to find the answer to that question. So I think today's corporate education has mostly been for a manufacturing world. Most all companies in the world have been manufacturing companies. Okay? They make some kind of product, a car, a semiconductor, a table, a chair, something. But that's changing. That's changing very quickly. If you look at America, what percentage of America of the workers in America do manufacturing? Any idea? what percentage in the United States? Of all the workers, what percentage work in manufacturing? Anybody want to guess? How many? 60? Yeah. Any other? 10%? You're very close. Yeah. A little less than 10%. About 9% of people work in manufacturing. In agriculture, 2%. 2% in farming, and 7 or 8% in manufacturing. What do the rest do? They work in information services, things like computers or programming or services, okay, or selling things. They work in what we call the service sector or the information sector. Okay. This is going to happen in Malaysia too. Okay. It's already happening in Malaysia. It's happening in Singapore right now. Look at Singapore. 5 years ago, it was almost all manufacturing. Okay. And what is Singapore changing to today? It's changing to being a financial center, and they're focusing on service, financial services, banking. This is the future for Singapore. And the manufacturing that used to be in Singapore is now where? Malaysia and China and India, other places in the world. Okay? It's no longer in Singapore. So within 5 years, that will be happening in Malaysia too. So the manufacturing will move somewhere else. Why? Cheaper. That's right. Somewhere else will be cheaper than Malaysia. And manufacturing always goes to where it's the least expensive place to make it. So right now, that's China. But soon it may be in Central Europe, it may be Indonesia, it may be other places around the world. But Malaysia is rapidly growing. And as you grow and become more wealthy as a country, then it's too expensive to manufacture products. And so now the companies coming to Malaysia will be information service companies. There will be companies that are programming or banking or other kinds of service industry. That's what's going to come into Malaysia over the next 5 to 10 years. When that happens, you need to re-educate all the workers. All the workers need to be educated again for these new jobs. And you say, who will do this? Okay. Clearly, for the most part, the government cannot do this. It will be the corporations that will have to do this. So if my company comes to Malaysia and I hire 100 people, I will train them. My company will end up being the place where they will learn how to do this that they need to do. So this is the big change that's coming and will come in the future. And I think you really need preparation to understand that and to be ready for when that happens. But it will come soon to Malaysia. Already is coming. So we've got a manufacturing-driven training program today. All our training is based around training people to make things. But people don't have to make things anymore. Now we have to have things, they have to be able to learn how to think and how to do things in a different way. How to be creative, how to be innovative, how to take responsibility, how to do these things. So very different kind of education than before. So this is the old training. This is what you have now, but needs to be replaced with the new training of the future. So what we know. What do we know right now? We can teach you how to do something very, very easily. Very easy to teach you how to do something. We're very good at this. In fact, e-learning is very good at this. So if you want to teach somebody how to learn, how to make something, or how to do something, we are very good at teaching that. Our schools are good at that, and I think your training organization is probably very good at that. So you can hire a new employee, and you can teach them how to work on the manufacturing very easily and very quickly. But the challenge that we have is, can you teach them how to innovate? Can you teach them to be creative? Can you teach them to come up with new ideas about things? Can you teach them in very different ways than we teach today, So the new methods of teaching, and later today in the afternoon I will talk more about this, but really it's more about having a mentor and having much looser structure. Right now our training is very specific, right? We have A and B and C and D. Everything is very laid out. We assume that the learner does not know anything. But now we have very educated people who are very smart and they already know things. They need some help, but they don't need every single step. They need guidance, they need coaching, but they don't need the same kind of teaching that we used to do. So we have a lot of things to change, a lot of things that have to evolve over the next 5 years or so, I think, in corporations. And Gen Y is teaching us a lot of things. You know, this is the first generation that ever grew up with a computer from when they were born. They grew up with television all the time. They grew up with a mobile phone from when they are very small. Okay? So this is a totally technology generation. And how do we teach them? In the old-fashioned way. We don't use technology. Right? These students expect to learn by the technology. They expect to learn on the computer. They expect to learn on the television. They don't expect to sit like this in the room and listen to me. Okay? They go to YouTube. Okay? They go to various things on the internet to learn. So we have to change the way we teach these young people. It has to be different. They are not going to just say, okay, I like this, I will sit and listen to you. They will just go away. They want to learn in different ways, and we have to change the way that we deliver the education that we have. So they're teaching us about the internet is where everything happens on the internet. For if you are 20 years old, your life is the internet. Okay? That's what you do all day. Right? You go to sleep with your mobile phone, and you wake up with your mobile phone. Okay? If you're a baby boomer, you turn it off at night. You turn it on in the morning. They never turn it off. All right? It's on all the time. All right? They expect to get what they want right now. They want it immediately. They don't want to wait for months or weeks to get something. Okay? So a different time frame about it, a different attitude. They like to have a lot of personalized messaging. Everything for them, it comes right to their mobile phone with their name on it. Okay? They want to be known. They want it personal. They want it to be flexible. They want it to be the way they want it to be. So they want choices. So rather than saying, you must learn this today and this tomorrow, they say, no, 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 I want to learn this today and that tomorrow. Okay? They want choices. Okay? You have to give them the choice of what to do. So they're teaching us a lot about what we need to do in education if we're going to continue to keep these people excited about learning and interested in the work that they do. But if they come to your company and you make them sit in rooms like this and listen to people talking, that's why they want to work for themselves. They say, I will go work myself. I don't want to listen to this. Okay? And they can do that. So they're going out and doing other things. So I think the problem is not for them to change. The problem is we need to change. And maybe it's two ways, okay? But we need to change some, and they maybe need to change some too. But it's just not, we just cannot continue to do things in the old way. This is the 21st century. This is a whole new era in the history of the world, I think. And the internet is as important as electricity. It changed everything. And electricity changed everything, and the internet has changed everything about how we work and how we learn. And so we must adapt and change our learning for this new world. As I said before, technology is invisible. They don't see technology. We talk about technology. They use technology. It's very different. They expect everything to be fast. How long is the television program? The average television program is about 22 minutes. 22 minutes long, average. Okay. That's about the only amount of time they will focus. After 20 minutes or so, their brain is gone somewhere else. And I'm going to lecture for 6 hours. They will be sleeping. Right? They're not going to learn anything. Okay? So fast, has to be fast. Okay? And it's got to be short, fast and short. They would rather come here, or not come here, get on the internet and listen to me for 15 minutes each day for a week or 2 weeks than to sit here for one day and listen all day. So a different style. They need a choice, and they would rather get on the internet and say, okay, here's 15 minutes, enough of him. Now I'm going to go do some other thing. Okay? So it's a different kind of thinking process here. And it must be flexible. Must be able to, another way to say that is they want to do it in their way. In their way, their choice of doing things. So there's one car made by Toyota. I don't know if you have it in Malaysia, but it's called the Scion, S-C-I-O-N. Do you have that car in Malaysia? Anyway, the reason that I talk about it is they have an internet site. And this car is designed for the first car that you own. It's not too expensive a car. It's a fairly small car. It's for younger people to buy. Okay? And you go to the internet and you can design this car yourself. So you go on the internet and you say, you want this color. You want this kind of transmission. You want this engine. You want this kind of seat. You want all this radio. Each thing you can pick. And on the side, it tells you the price. So you pick the radio and the price goes up. And they have many choices, like 3 or 4 different radios and different things that you can do. And then in the end, it tells you the price. And if you click the button, then they will make that car just for you. And they will deliver it to the car shop, the shop in your town where you live, to the dealer. They will deliver it. You can go there and buy the car and pay for the car. Okay? And they say, do it your way. Have the car your way. Okay? McDonald's, they say you can have your hamburger any way you want it. Okay? So the idea here is choice. And in education, I think we must think about choice. How do we let people have choices? If they come to your school, how do you say, I want to learn this, this, and this, and let them pick that? Rather than we usually tell them, you must learn this, and then this, and then this. They want choice. So the answer, I think, or the thing that I'm saying here, the most important thing for younger people is to give them choices. They want to have choices. So why corporate universities? I think the reason for corporate universities is to address the 2 things that I've been talking about. On the one side, it's the global marketplace, the changing, everything is changing around business. There's more competition. You cannot be protected anymore in most places. So there's a lot of competition for your business. There's a lot of, the world is global. Anybody in the world can compete with you and can take away your people or your business. So you have big challenges there. The consumer, us, when we buy something, we constantly change our mind. This year we like this, but next year we like that. Constantly changing. How do you change your company quickly from making this thing to making that thing? How do I know what you want next year? How do I know that? I need to have employees who can help me to understand what the consumer is doing. So on the one side, we have these things. On the other side, we have all the things that I've been talking about. Fewer people, changing workplace, Gen Y with different attitudes about work and so forth. It's a very different world out there. So the corporate university helps to address these two issues. I think that's really what they do. So if I ask you and said, so I've given you a lot of information. We've talked a little bit about why we have these things. Well, what is a corporate university? What is one? And how would you, if someone asked you and came up to you and said, could you please tell me what a corporate university is? What would you say? How many of you could answer that question? Probably not. Most people cannot answer that question. That's why you're here, right? So, one question for you. Maybe just take a few minutes and talk to your friends in the table around you and just say, what do you think corporate university is? So just take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and talk with each other. Okay? Say, what is a corporate university in your opinion? Don't look in the book. So what do you think one is?
You think? We don't have the university here. They have the big company. But in their core business. So maybe they use other universities to guide JV or financial. No, our motto is Singapore has one.
would someone be brave and like to tell me what they think a corporate university is? Or what your group thought it was? Any ideas? Comes back to the concept of learning organization. All right? Any other ideas or concepts? That's absolutely right. Any more? Okay, well, let's just take a look at, I think it's, and this really is, to your point, a learning organization. Absolutely. It's an integrated approach to developing the human capital of an organization to achieve its business goal. And I underline the business goal. Okay? This is a tool. You can say the corporate university is a tool for the organization to use to improve its business capability, its ability to do business. So it's not a regular university, the academic university, is designed to improve you, to improve your ability. The corporate university is really designed to help the organization achieve its business goal. So, for example, if your business goal is to, let's say, open your factory in China, then the corporate university would be to help you educate employees about China, about doing business in China. It's focusing on what does the corporation need to have done, and how can I educate my employees to do that. So it's a little different focus. So the business goal is very important, and we'll talk more about this. It's make sure that there are talented people with the right skills to execute the business plan. So I think I heard this morning, I think in your address, you said the slogan of Motorola was right people, right now. And again, it goes back to this, who are the right people? And the right people means the people who have the skills and the knowledge to help you execute your business plan, to help you do whatever it is your company wants to do. So if you say, I would like to enter China, and you have no one who can speak Chinese, you have no one who understands China, then how are you going to enter your business in China? So you must have people prepared for that kind of opportunity. So this is the thing when you look at whatever you want to do as a business. If you want to build a new car, let's say, do you have an engineer who can design the car? Do you have the marketing people that understand what you want and can help you to design the car that people will buy? So you have to have this whole spectrum of people that really know what people want. And then as a corporation, you need to be able to provide them the education to go and do that. So the corporate university is just what it says. It's corporate. It's business. It's business-focused learning. That's what it's all about. So focusing your learning for improving your business and your ability to do business. So it's a different purpose than the academic university. They're similar. They go together. They have to be partners, but they have a different focus. The corporate university is very practical, very about how do we do something, or how do we become more creative, how do we be more innovative as quickly as we can. So it's about speed, and it's about achieving the business goals of the corporation. There's a lot of different terms for corporate university. And for me, I don't care what you call it. You can call it anything you want. You can call it learning organization, learning institute, development center. I don't care what you call it. The point is not the name. The point is, what does it do? And that's the important thing. What does it do? How is it organized? And what is its purpose and charter? And that's what we're going to talk about as we move through the day today. How do we make this happen? What are the elements to make this happen? But I think right now it's time for a tea break. So we have 15 minutes. So 15 minutes for a tea break. Okay?